I'm Pamela Price. I'm an attorney in Oakland. I practice law as Price and Associates. We specialize in sexual harassment and racial harassment and race discrimination. And I've been in practice for almost 30 years, and I've had this practice for 21 years. I've been a civil rights activist all of my life. Since 1968, in the wake of the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I became very active, and I came from a nationalist background. I marched, I demonstrated, I sat down, I got arrested, and then I got accepted to Yale, which was truly by grace. And I got there and discovered that I was very much in the minority as an African American woman, and became very alienated. In 1976, a professor offered to give me an A if I would sleep with him, and clearly intimated that he would give me a C if I didn't. And so I was faced squarely in sort of the midst of a movement without understanding what was happening to me. A year later, the Yale Undergraduate Women's Caucus began investigating sexual harassment on campus. And because I had been well advised to file a complaint in 1976, in 1977 it was discovered that I had this incident. And so I became involved in Alexander versus Yale. Title IX was enacted in 1972, but I'm here to tell you in 1976, we didn't know it existed. I'd never heard of Title IX before I learned about the lawsuit of Alexander versus Yale. And so the fact that the law existed was, again, it became a tool. It was obviously a tool that was being used to effect an ends, to ensure that women at Yale had equal opportunity and that we could go there without being sexually harassed, sexually propositioned, raped by men on campus. And so it wasn't the law that influenced me to go forward. It really was the people and the stories of the women that I became aware of who had suffered terrible, degrading acts visited against them. And that's what motivated me to join Alexander. ERA played a significant role in the case at the point after the case had been, when we got to the appellate phase of the case. The case was filed in 1977 on behalf of a group of women who had been organized through the Yale Undergraduate Women's Caucus and had been working with the New Haven Law Collective, founded by Ann Simon and Kent Harvey and Catherine McKinnon. The case lasted from 1977 to 1980, and we went through a trial in 1979, and it was after the trial that we reached out to organizations around the country, of which there were only a few, and ERA was certainly one of the significant ones. And ERA became joined in the case as an amicus as the briefs were filed on appeal in the Second Circuit. And it was extremely significant to have ERA as a partner at that point, because it represented the fact that our struggle was a national struggle, and that our struggle throughout Alexander was to tell people it's not just happening at Yale. This is a national issue that needs to be addressed nationally. And so bringing ERA's willingness to come forward and partner with us helped us fulfill that mission. Sexual harassment in schools, whether it's junior high school, college, postgraduate school, affects women at every level fundamentally, in some very fundamental ways. It basically says to women who are subjected to sexual harassment that you are not a person. You are not an equal person in this arena, and your contribution doesn't really exist. We only have you here so that we can exploit you, so that we can take advantage of you. And particularly for young women at the formation stage, at junior high school, we know how vulnerable we are as young girls and how that affects us. We're developing what is our sexuality, what is our personhood, and that gets very challenged and undermined by sexual harassment. So it's a very devastating influence, a negative influence in the educational environment. Girls and young women cannot learn when they do not feel safe. There's no question that in order for someone to be able to actively engage and participate in an educational environment, you have to feel safe. You have to know that, and this is true in our communities today, which are racked with violence. Kids coming to school who are afraid to even walk to school because they might get shot or someone can come on campus and shoot them. Sexual harassment is no different. It strikes terror in the hearts of young women. And so it makes it impossible for women to have an equal opportunity in education. It completely undermines the educational experience, and it pollutes it to the point that it becomes useless for them. What is society telling a young woman when it allows a professor to demand sex for a high grade? It's telling a young woman that you don't belong here, that I can take advantage of you in this way, and you have no recourse. You can't do anything about it. Your effort to be a full member of the academic community, whether it's in high school trying to go to college, or whether it's in college trying to go to law school, or whether it's at the postgraduate level looking forward to fellowships and trying to prepare oneself to enter the workforce. If society allows women to be sexually harassed in this way, it basically says, women, we are not going to allow you to participate as equals in our society. Sure, why is gender inequity crucial to the educational experience of girls and boys? Because it's important for us to teach young people how to interact with one another. We understood as early as Alexander in 1977 that sexual harassment was just one point on a continuum that went from sexual harassment to rape. And that if we allowed our children, if we didn't teach our children how to interact with each other in ways that were respectful and appreciative of their sexuality at the junior high school level, how could we expect them to do anything similar to that? How would they ever learn to do that by the time they got to college? How do we expect them to interact with each other in marital relationships, in domestic relationships? And so it's a foundation upon which all of our society rests, upon which all of our relationships rest. We have to teach each other, boys and girls, how to respect one another and how to respect each other's sexuality in healthy ways and not exploiting people and undermining people.